Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Snort, snort, snort.
Kogan.
Drip, snort, snort.
I got the drip. Go. So yesterday's streams, how did they go? Well, first of all, on the first stream, it was my second ever session of Armored Core 6. Now, we had already talked about this a few days ago, that when I played Armored Core 6 on Friday as a premiere stream, I actually enjoyed it. Did I have some difficulty with the first boss? Yes, I did, because I, on the fly, had to learn some gameplay mechanics on how to dodge and move and maneuver. And once I did that, I was able to adjust, and I was able to beat the boss. It took, a few tries, maybe like a half an hour of trying this boss, but I beat him. Like, all right, for a FromSoft game, that's not so bad. That's kind of what I'm used to for FromSoft. It's not any shocking twist that the boss would be difficult and you have to learn gameplay mechanics on the fly or anything like that, right? So then, continuing on, I started customizing my mech, changing the colors, changing the build, and I did many different missions, and I was having a good time. There was actually a boss that I think would have been tough if I didn't have a certain weapon, but I kind of lucked out into having the correct weapon, and I beat the boss, and I was like, all right, so 3 hours in, I really like this game. I don't get why people were all abuzz about it, why people on the internet are so crazy about it. And then what happens is, you see a complete shift of attitude. People have been campaigning for me to play Armored Core 6. They said they absolutely wanted me to play it, that it's a FromSoft game I cannot miss, right? But now that I played it for 3 hours and I've enjoyed it, no one cares. Why? Because the people who primarily, not everyone, this is a generalization, so understand this is not every person, but a lot of people who were campaigning to see me play Armored Core 6 were my hate watchers, okay? These are people who only watch my content because they like to see me fail and suffer. They're shitheads, okay? There is some enjoyment in watching someone fail. I'll totally admit that. But if your entire focus on the internet is someone failing, trying to laugh at someone else's misfortunes, you are a fucked up human. And you really should reassess yourself with a professional help. But that's how some of these people are. There's a large group of thousands of people on the internet who this is what they focus on. So because I played Armored Core 6 on Friday and I actually enjoyed it rather than raged at it and failed at it, they didn't like that at all. So the whole narrative changes. Instead of darksydephil must keep playing Armored Core 6 because he's going to fail and rage, it's, oh, well, fuck that then, forget it. Right? No views on the videos, no talk about it, nothing, right? Now, what ended up happening was after I talked about that on my podcast the other day, there was a group of people who were not like that, all right? And they actually genuinely did want to see me play the game and enjoy it because it's a new franchise that I've never touched before. There's been many of these long-standing franchises that I've never experienced, and this is just an example of one of them. And now seeing me actually get hands-on experience with the game, over the course of the weekend, people started to say, oh, this is kind of interesting. I actually want to see Phil continue because he's actually seeming to like it now. So what ended up happening was, even though the hate watchers were so butthurt that I liked the game, a few other people actually started to enjoy the content, okay? And so yesterday, my second session ever, all right, as I played it, all right, I tried a new build. I was trying the tetrapod build, which is the four-legged build where you can hover. Dude, it's so good. The hovering makes the game so different, but also so much better. The hovering and strafing gunplay, and then being able to just dodge in the air, makes so many things not as dangerous. Area of effect attacks, they don't really affect you because they have to hit you directly. They can't just hit you with splash damage when you're in the air. Just right there, it's making the game tremendously, easier to manage. But in addition to that, me learning new strategies and things, we did the arena fights and unlocked a bunch of upgrades, like the ability to heal more and get an actual shield that reduces damage. And then we got to the point of the game where I had heard from what you guys had told me and what the internet was abuzz about, all right? The point in the game that everyone was calling the skill check. This was the point of the game where supposedly a lot of gamers and streamers had quit the game on this boss. Now, I don't know. I'm not watching other gamers and streamers. You know me. I'm just playing my own thing. This is what people are telling me. This is what people all over social media are saying. That this was the big skill check for the game. And if you get past this point, you're pretty much full speed ahead. You're going to enjoy the rest of the game. If this point crushes you and defeats you and makes you rage, you're probably going to hate the rest of the game. And that's why a lot of people just quit it at that point. Okay? So, the point I'm talking about is the Baltius, no H in there, boss fight. This is a boss that when you face it, immediately introduces you to gameplay mechanics that didn't even exist before then. So you would have need to be psychic to know that these gameplay mechanics would have been in there to prepare for it. In addition, this is the first boss that essentially has multiple boss phases in the game, a la classic Soulsborne gameplay. So if you've played Soulsborne games before, you're used to it. However, if you never have, you're probably shocked. What the hell? Why is this boss changing forms and attack patterns in the middle of the fight? It also has some really overpowered attacks, and quite frankly, it seems to be exactly what people are describing it as, all right? It is a wall, and if you can find a way to climb over this wall or break your way through it, you'll probably understand the mechanics enough to do well for the rest of the game. And if you don't, you might as well quit then, okay? So, first of all, admittedly, you know, people on my streams are supportive and they want to see me succeed. And there was one particular person who had given me a little bit of a heads up earlier on in the stream. They said, you're going to want to buy a plasma gun. They didn't tell me why. They said, listen, you're just going to want to buy a plasma gun. And that's all they said. They said, just get one when you can do it. I said, okay. So I had bought it earlier on the stream before I ever got into this boss, not understanding why I needed the plasma gun. Well, without spoiling, it was this boss. This boss has a shield that needs to be downed, and if you don't have a plasma gun, it takes a long time to get the shield down. But then once the shield's down, it has a second shield. Basically, it's the stun shield, the stagger meter, kind of like Sekiro. So it's like, first you have to take down the level 1 shield, then you have to do the stagger shield, then you can finally hurt the thing. So imagine doing all that and not knowing, but if you have the plasma gun can essentially cut through the first shield, so it takes out a lot of the difficulty of the fight. So admittedly, someone helped me ahead of time, not spoiling and explaining that, but basically just saying, get a plasma gun, you'll need it, okay? Now, in addition to that, there were some other gameplay mechanics in the game that had never been explained properly. I'm sorry, they just weren't. For example, there's a lock-on mechanic. I knew that, but I didn't understand that the lock-on mechanic in this game is different from that in Soulsborne games. In Armored Core, when you lock onto an enemy, you permanently lock onto the enemy. If that enemy flies behind you, you stay locked on. The difference is that your aim isn't as accurate when you're on the auto lock-on, okay? When you manually do the more manual lock-on, which is essentially don't do the R3 lock-on, you'll hit more. But it's more worth it, especially when you're fighting a tough boss. It seems to be more worth it to have the lock-on, especially if the boss is very maneuverable, because that boss could be zipping all over the screen, which is exactly what happens with Baltius. There's points where that boss will just decide, I'm just going to zip right by you and go behind you. So now you're trying to find, where did it go? Is it above me? Is it directly behind me? Sometimes you're like spinning around looking for this damn thing, and if you're not fast, he's going to pummel you with missiles. So you need to be on your toes. The lock-on system, never properly explained in the game. Sorry, it just isn't. I don't care what anyone says. I played every tutorial, and it was never explained. Okay? So someone explained to me how that lock-on system worked during the boss fight, so I could actually understand it and utilize it properly. Otherwise, I would have been flubbing around not knowing what to do, because once again, it's a case of another FromSoft game that doesn't really explain its mechanics to you. That's par for the course for FromSoft, though. Like, the nuances of the engine need to be discovered on your own, because they don't explain anything in any way of a proper fashion. I mean, so some people will just be like, we'll just be used to that. Well, sorry, I still got to call it out. A spade is a spade, and a tutorial that doesn't fully explain all the gameplay mechanics isn't much of a tutorial. It never explained that. So, it is what it is. Thank you to obviously to the viewer who explained that to me, okay? So essentially, once everything was explained, you need the plasma gun. Use this lock-on mechanic in all of this, okay? I started the Baltius fight with a sword, and after trying a couple times, I was like, nah, it's not really working. Let me try something else. Let me try maybe the grenade launcher. So after now playing for about a half an hour, I learned the Baltius attack patterns and how to dodge them. I learned how to cut through Baltius' shield. And essentially, I learned the best strategy is get the shield down, pummel him with high damage moves to stagger him, then float and hover on top of him with the tetrapod build, and just rain down upon him as much as you can until the shield regenerates. With that strategy, after one downing, I was getting this boss down to less than 50% health. Then it was just about surviving, because the second half of the fight is a little bit tougher. He's got this flame sword you got to dodge and stuff like that. But essentially, the strategy is almost the same, just more attacks to dodge, okay? So, I'm doing this, and basically I'm saying, my usual stuff for when I'm playing a game like this that's difficult. I'm saying things like the game is cheating and stuff like that, right? Now, when I say stuff like that, you have to understand, number one, it's in the heat of the moment. It's because I'm full of adrenaline. It's because I'm, tense about fighting a tough boss. Did the game cheat? I mean, no, not necessarily. The game didn't disable all my weapons, and the game didn't fucking, suck my health bar away with one hit, okay? But I will say that whenever I'm playing a FromSoft game, I always feel like every single circumstance is stacked against you, right? Like it's you, the tiny little ant, against a ginormous, monstrous entity trying to take it down. This guy is so fast that he can zip by you at a moment's notice. He doesn't have any tells that he's going to do it. He just does it. Now he's behind you, raining down missiles on you. You're like, wait, where did he even go? And you're not fast enough to really react to that. You just got to kind of flub it and hope that you can get out of the way in time or find him really quick. There were situations where he would hit me with the sword, and I couldn't avoid it because I was already out of stamina, and he'll continuously hit you with the sword. Like, boom, 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 dead. Like, oh my God. Well, I couldn't avoid that. So to me, I'm saying stuff like, listen, there's an RNG factor. Sometimes you're going to get lucky, and you're going to be able to maneuver more, and you're not going to run out of your stamina. You're going to down him and everything. And there's going to be times when he's just going to do the maneuver move. He's going to zip by you 10 times, and now you can't even down him once. And it's true. When I was fighting this boss, that's exactly what happened. It's this RNG factor in a FromSoft game. An enemy will determine to just do one of its random attacks at any given moment. And then, based on that, you either get lucky or you don't. I remember when I beat him, basically what I did, someone had given me some more advice and said, you should go back to the sword. I know you tried it at first, it wasn't working, but now you know the boss's patterns. You know how to down him. You should try the sword now. So I tried, and lo and behold, the sword recharged like 4 times faster than the grenade launcher. So I was basically pummeling him to get the shield down, slashing him with the sword, pummeling him, slashing, pummeling, slashing, and he just got melted. And I was like, wow. So I actually, I went from getting my ass handed to me to almost like styling on this guy, right? So after I finally beat him, I was like, okay, so I beat the skill check, right? And I made a joke. Here I am wearing a Bender hat and a freaking platinum vest because people have been very supportive during the stream. And I make a joke. I said, so all those content creators and all those streamers that quit, guess what? I just beat that boss with a Bender outfit on. You suck. And it's a joke. It's not meant to be serious. It's me just razzing people and being stupid, right? So I do that, and then we move on. And we played for about another hour. I did more arena fights. And then lastly on the stream, there was a whole other stage I beat, which was pretty challenging because I was trying these new miniguns, which I like. But, dude, they ran out of freaking ammo. So here I am trying to beat the stage with my fists, right? And then I finally got to the boss, luckily. And the boss was challenging and interesting and unique. And I beat the boss. Like, okay, great session, right? So at the end of the session, admittedly, I was a bit quizzically confused. And I was kind of scratching my head. Why is it that people quit at Baltius? What about that boss particularly made people rage so badly that these people wanted to quit the game and didn't want to play it again? The thing that really made me puzzled is that that Armored Core 6 is a FromSoft game. Everyone last year played Elden Ring. Even people who had never touched a FromSoft game before had played Elden Ring. So you know what you're in for. These FromSoft games have been around now for over a decade. Remember, Dark Souls 1 was 2011. So you're talking 12-year legacy of these games being out and being mainstream, and people know what they are. So it gets to me how confusing it is that people would have quit this game. All right? So last night, after trying to figure this out, I posted up on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and I also posted up on my main channel page of my channel an honest question that I would like feedback on. And the question was, why? Oh, actually, I should just read it word for word. No, I'm going to read it word for word so that way there's no one can say, oh, that's not what you said or whatever. Okay, hold on. I'm going to read it word for word, the post. Ready? Here it is. Why did so many people rage quit Armored Core 6 at Baltius? And why are people saying the game is way hard? I legitimately don't get it. I would appreciate some feedback to talk about on Wednesday's podcast. Thanks. That's it. All right? There's nothing there that's gloating. There's nothing there that's saying, ha ha, I dominated the game and you didn't. All right? It's just me genuinely asking the question, why do you guys think that people say the game is so hard and that this boss is the rage quitting point? Because for me, being around the block, having played every major FromSoft game since Dark Souls, actually since Demon's Souls at this point, I've definitely faced way harder challenges. I would argue that the Great Ape or the double Great Apes in Sekiro were way tougher than this. I would argue that many other bosses in general in FromSoft games have been giant walls of difficulty for me, and this just wasn't it for me, So, what are we talking about? What's really going on here? All right? And so, I had open replies on my tweet, my post on X, and I wanted to see what people had to say. So I got a variety of responses. Of course, first of all, I get some of the most ridiculously stupid, over-the-top, dumb-ass responses that you would ever get whenever you have open, responses. You're going to get your hater base responding. Someone literally said this. I'm not shitting you. Oh, did you leave your responses open on this post for clout? Did I leave open responses on a random post on the X app to gain clout? Because we all know that when darksydephil has an open response post on the X app, it's mainstream news. Did you know that this morning, Kotaku, IGN, and GameSpot all had front page articles about how darksydephil has an open post on fucking Twitter? I mean, wow! Yeah, that's exactly why I did it. Or maybe I wanted some responses so I could talk about it today. Anyway. Now I'm clicking the wrong thing. Anyway. Of course, you get people who actually have a point, but because they're just so used to everything they're saying towards me being hateful and negative, they have to say it in a very insulting way. So what I had to do is I had to kind of sift through a lot of shit to get to the point. I think people actually had a point, but the problem is no one on the internet knows how to say anything like an intelligent human, okay? So here's essentially the point that a lot of people made, and I will actually intelligently respond to it. So you're an interactive streamer, right? I am. You're absolutely correct. I am. When you're playing a game like Armored Core 6, a lot of people in your chat are telling you about the game. And so, as you're fighting this boss, you're getting some advice, you're getting some, tips that other people don't get. A lot of streamers who are hardcore into the FromSoft games outright tell their audiences, I'm not allowing any advice or spoilers unless I ask for it. So seriously, unless I say something to you and say, I need help, they don't allow their audience to try to spoil or help. And if they do, they actually have their moderators ban them outright from the chat. Okay? I think that's a little harsh. Someone trying to help you. It's a difference between a major story spoiler that's ruining the entirety of the game or someone just saying, hey, try this weapon. It's a little different, I think. But hey, some people, I guess, are that harsh where they literally just want everything to be earned, like legit get good mentality kind of a deal. I would think those are the kind of people who, like, Armored Core 6 was a giant game for them. Like, they love FromSoft. And they love it so much, they don't want anything to be soiled or spoiled for them. So to them, having that kind of feedback is a negative, and they just don't allow it. For me, let's be honest here. Number one, I wasn't even going to play Armored Core 6. I told you guys I never played a Met Combat game before. I was going to skip it entirely. All right? I'm only playing it because someone actually donated it to see if I would like it. Number two, this is a game that isn't even really fitting into my schedule at this point. As we all know, the major releases for September for me will be Starfield, continuing with Street Fighter 6, Lies of P, and Mortal Kombat 1. Maybe Sea of Stars in there somewhere, and then maybe something at the end of the month, but that's essentially what I'm focusing on. Everyone knows that. If I play this game longer, all right, basically, we'll see what happens, all right, but, it wasn't really a big investment for me. So, since this is a game that, obviously, I'm kind of testing the waters to see if you'll like it, if I'll like it, it kind of makes sense to not have me stuck on a boss for 17 hours. And if someone's offering a little bit of advice on the boss, I'm not going to say, oh, ban you for doing that. In fact, that person who had said use the plasma or buy a plasma gun, essentially was giving me a huge tip on how to face this boss. Now, I didn't know that at first. I didn't have the plasma gun at first when I fought him, but I did adjust the plasma gun on the fly, tried it, and I was like, wow, this is working really well. I'm glad that I got that piece of advice. The lock-on advice, that was huge. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to even follow the boss and see where it had gone on the screen. I would have been flubbing about. So yeah, there was definitely some key pieces of advice. Absolutely. That helped out. That's called being an interactive streamer. But you know what? There's a fair point there. Not everyone's an interactive streamer, right? Some streamers want no advice, and a lot of people who maybe are sitting around playing this game for themselves aren't getting that help. So maybe that's what it is. And then I started to think, see, and this is what I mean. That feedback is actually very valid feedback, and I like it. But sadly, a lot of people just couldn't say that in a nice way and say, Phil, the reason you're maybe not, hating on the game as much as others is because you had some people help you with it. But in reality, it's really hard to fight that boss without that help first. But instead of people saying it nicely like that, literally no one said that. It was, oh, because you're a piece of shit and you suck at games, so your handheld stream chat has to do this. Real fuck faces. Real people who just don't know how to speak to someone. That if they said that to someone's face in person, they get slapped in real life by someone because they're so disrespectful. But they think it's fair game because you can just say it to someone on the internet and get away with it. It's fucked up antisocial idiots. That's the kind of responses that I get. But that doesn't invalidate their points. The points they're making, I feel, actually are valid. Yeah, if I didn't have that plasma gun, if I hadn't bought it before this boss would have been way worse. If I hadn't known about the lock-on, this boss would have been way worse. I have to agree with these points, okay? So, fair enough, valid points. However, I will say this, and this is what a lot of people don't realize. Tons of streamers out there are just like me, and I hate to tell you this, way worse when it comes to having people hold their hands. There's streamers out there that literally the way that they play games is just as a social thing with their audience. This is all they do. If they're going to play a game, they're just going to have their audience tell them what to do entirely. I've seen streamers, literally, it's like they're not even playing the game. It's their audience is playing the game for them, okay? It's valid content creation because these people are popular and they make a living doing it. All right? Not everyone is a get good kind of streamer, but here's the thing. I hate to say it, a toxic fan base of hate watchers. Yes, it's a fan base, but it's a fan base of hate watchers. Okay? So again, to them, if I'm not struggling in something, and if I'm actually succeeding, it's not entertaining. So God forbid, I'm having a good time with my audience. We're having positive conversation. I'm enjoying the game. They see that there's some hard stuff coming up and they toss me a little bit of a bone. So that way when I fight this boss, it's an hour to an hour and a half instead of 7 hours, right? What was more enjoyable yesterday? Seeing me struggle a little bit on the boss, learn slowly, get the pattern, switch back to the sword, and beat him in epic fashion? Or see me play that boss for 3 streams and be very upset and not enjoy the game? What would have been the better option? I think anyone who's not a toxic hate-watching asshole would say option 1 is the best option. But that's the problem. These idiots follow me around and just don't understand that's not who I am. Don't care about you. If all you hate watchers disappeared tomorrow, I would do better off. You like to justify your existence as if somehow you're the reason I still have any popularity. You couldn't be further from the truth. If you fuckfaces went away tomorrow, I could actually be here having fun with my audience and not have toxic stuff thrown at me constantly, and I'd actually for once be able to thrive. I'd have positivity instead of negativity. You're the reason I'm held down, not the reason I still exist. So the moment the hate watchers go away, it's like paradise. But the problem is, they're never going to go away, and we know that. I've been doing this now for long enough to realize this scumbag group will never stop being a black cloud over my head. All right? But you have to understand something. That doesn't invalidate the fact that I had fun and my viewers are having fun with this game. Just because I'm not playing the game in line with these super duper try hard ultra get good streamers, the ones who are the FromSoft aficionados who absolutely need to prove the size of their e-penises by playing this game with zero help and really just going crazy hardcore into it and earning it all for themselves. I don't care. I'm not playing Armored Core 6 for that. I never was. I wasn't even going to play the game at all. You understand? That's not who I am. That's not what this was going to be. So, fuck off. Nobody cares about your opinion besides you and your hate watching circle grouping Jew. Circle grouping. That's what I just said. Circle grouping. That's right. Seriously. So it's just simple. I like the game, and maybe I like it more than others because I'm actually having a positive experience with it, because we're having a great stream of it, because people are actually being nice. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying every single time that I face a boss, I want people to immediately throw all the solutions at me. And that's not even what happened with this boss, right? I had a legit amount of time to try to learn stuff, and then people started giving me advice and things based on the things I wasn't doing. It worked out pretty well, I feel. I would say a boss like that, that's supposed to be a skill check, took about an hour, 15 minutes for me to beat. That's fair. In any FromSoft game, you're going to have those kind of skill check walls, and that's perfectly fine, right? So I'm happy with the way it went. I really enjoyed that segment. And when I'm asking for feedback, I actually got legit feedback. Sadly, the feedback had to be completely laden with disgusting negative insults and all kinds of fucked up stuff, but at least I got my feedback. So if you play this game as a try hard, get good, no help, no social experience, I just want to fucking play and prove the size of my E-dick kind of experience, the game's really hard. Okay. Fair enough. I get it. Because if I didn't have that plasma gun or whatever, I probably would have had a lot more trouble with this boss. I kind of get it. But at the same time, when you're playing a FromSoft game, aren't you used to that by now? Aren't you used to that's what you're getting into? I mean, maybe what it is maybe Elden Ring had too much of a crutch, right? Maybe with Elden Ring, with the Ash summons or whatever, so many people got used to the game allowing them to pass stuff by summoning. You don't do that in this game. And wait, I have to do it by myself? Oh, fuck. I can't do it. Maybe that's what it is, all right? Someone else actually had a really interesting take, and I really like this one, all right? Listen to this. The bosses, which the game is built around, are individually built to hard counter certain build types. If people come into this like a Souls game where you can just set up your build and find a way to play the entire game with just that build, they will hit a wall at some point. And I actually will agree with you there. In fact, I think that's why the game was set up with the fact that there's checkpoints, and that whenever you reach a boss, if you die on that boss, okay, you can rebuild your mech right at that checkpoint. That's why the person had recommended, hey, just buy a plasma gun. So that way if you get to the point of the game where you need it, you have it, right? So that's tremendous. That's an interesting gameplay mechanic. Instead of it just being, well, here's your build, get to the boss, steamroll the game because your build is overpowered. Instead, it's, well, try this build. Did it work? No. All right, try another build. Did it work? No. And this game should be commended because the checkpoints so far have been absolutely outstanding. And the ability to build your mech or rebuild your mech right before the boss is a great idea. So I really, I'm looking at this game and I'm really strongly trying to look for like things to criticize. And I'm like, what can I honestly criticize about the game? Well, the environments are pretty empty. They don't look real. They look like they're video game stages set up from the PS2 era. That's true. That's a valid criticism. Okay? The story. There's not much to it. It's just a bunch of comms chatter. That's not necessarily much of a story for a modern game, right? So, yeah, I will criticize a few different things about the game. But are those things that are like game breakers? No. If you're in it for challenge, if you're in it for great, fast-paced, responsive mech combat, customizability of these mechs, insane amounts of loadouts and variety in the way that the mechs maneuver and or play, I think this game is great, But again, I went into it with zero knowledge of mech games, and now after playing 6 hours, I really like it. I'm actually very much looking forward to more of what the game will throw at me. So far, we've had invisible mechs, we've had super armor mech, we have all these things going on. I wonder what more there can be. I'm sure they're going to come up with more creative stuff the further into the game we get. So, I like it. Now, as I continue to play the game, I will continue to have an interactive audience because I'm an interactive streamer. That's the deal. And if people don't like that, they have the right to choose and say, listen, I don't like it that you're an interactive streamer and that people are maybe tossing you some advice, so I'm out of here. Okay, fair enough. That's fair. Go ahead. If you're out to only find someone who's literally only playing the game out for themselves, as if they were playing in an isolation booth in their room by themselves, no interaction, no advice, nothing whatsoever, and they just want to earn every single thing possible for themselves playing the game, there's streamers out there like that. They're known as kind of the FromSoft streamers. They have notoriety for being great at these games. I don't. So why are you holding those kind of judgments against me. Why would anyone ever come to a darksydephil stream expecting that DSP or DSP Gaming is going to be playing at the same level as one of those players? Are you fucking stupid? The answer is yes. If you actually have those expectations, you're a moron. And the only reason you don't like the stream is because you came into it with preconceived notions that are completely erroneous. I've been a interactive live streamer since 2017. I literally have just started to say to you guys recently, I'm 41 years old. I'm getting to the point in my life where I'm realizing that what I want to stream and play are games that I'm going to enjoy. And I don't want to waste time with stuff that I know is something I don't like. Whether it's a bad game or a game that's a style that I just not, really enjoying or finding a way to like or make good content out of. There's plenty of valid games out there that are very enjoyable that I just don't enjoy. Or I just can't make enjoyable content out of. And that's fine. But I'm not going to waste my streaming time, the limited time I have with you guys every day, playing stuff that doesn't work for me. You understand? Playing a game like this and saying, everyone just shut up, zip your lips, no one ever give me any advice on it whatsoever, is ridiculous. I'm an interactive streamer for 6 years. This didn't change yesterday. It's been 6 years. Are you aware of this yet? Or have you just sat there with your fingers in your ear, which is what you do? Because you sit there with your little hate-watching group like a bunch of fucking morons, and you just talk to each other instead of looking at reality. Here's reality. For 6 years, I've been an interactive streamer with support, with help in the games I play. I'm successful at it. I run a whole business doing it. People love the content so much, they support it, and I curate content specifically for that audience, as big or as small as it is. I don't need fucking hate watchers to come by and make demands on my playthroughs. So if you don't like the way I'm playing Armored Core 6, fuck off and don't come back, because I don't need you here. I have plenty of positive people who like to come and watch my content. Do you understand? So, after getting this feedback on Armored Core 6, I guess I kind of get it, all right? And here's the thing. Knowing that this was a FromSoft game, I think maybe that's another major reason why I kind of know what it is and what to expect, and that there will be difficulty checks and things going on in the game, right, that will hold me up. But as long as I push forward positively, I don't give up, and I persevere, and yes, every once in a while, I get a little bit of advice from my viewers, I think that this will be a fine playthrough, okay? So I get it. It's not that Baltius was a complete world-ending difficult boss. It's that this was the point of the game where you needed to have some knowledge in order to really tackle the boss. You couldn't steamroll the boss with your particular build that you built up and loved. You had to have something to negate the plasma. You had to know what was going to stagger that boss fast. You definitely need to be able to follow the boss around quickly because he zooms all over the screen. Now I get it, okay? So I'm okay with that. And now I'm glad I got the feedback I did. It's just a shame that people can't speak respectfully to others on the internet about it. Because the thing is, remember, respect begets respect. If people were respectful to me, I'd be respectful back to them. That person who left that very intelligent comment about not being able to steamroll with one build, thank you so much. That was a really nice comment, and it actually completely explained the situation, and I get it. But to everyone who had to say something nasty and disgusting, fuck off, you're a bunch of losers. So there you go. All right, so that's what I think so far. Armored Core 6, I really like it. The more I play it, the more I like. The more builds we're trying and more things we're doing. It's just a good game. Story's lacking, and environments are not that good. But outside of that, I like the combat, and that's what the game is based on. I like the challenge, and I like the interactivity we're having during it. Had a great time with it yesterday, okay? Now, I do want to say, yesterday was a very supportive stream of Armored Core 6. I know they're not going to all be like that, but I really appreciate those of you who did support yesterday's stream. That was really nice of you. Thank you for that, okay? Fair enough. All right.
I got the drip going. 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 I got the drip going.
It's like a faucet that's dripping. You can't make it stop. So what do you want me to do? Have a mute button that every second I'm tapping the mute button just in case I'm gonna have to clear? Like, this is what I mean. These dumb kids. This is what it is. It's dumb kids.